Cathie Wood explains losses. Market is irrational. What is happening, investors? It is your boy Jack. I am not a financial advisor, and today we're going to be speaking about ARK Invest's Cathie Wood, their performance. Okay, Cathie Wood's flagship ARK Innovation ETF has slumped 42% over the past year. Sounds absolutely horrific. 40% of the Nasdaq is down over 50% over the past year or so as well. Also want to speak about this. The market move Cathie Wood says is ridiculous, and potentially most importantly, when it comes to not only looking at ARK Invest, when it comes to looking at any ETF, but also any stock realistically, disruptive tech investing has never been a one-year approach. And there's some interesting points brought up, and it shows, yes, the last year has been terrible for ARK Invest, as it has been for a lot of individual growth stocks out there. But the last 5 years, they have most certainly outperformed the markets by an absolutely huge margin. Now, Cathie Wood and ARK Invest are some things that we used to follow very, very closely on this channel, okay? Especially when growth was booming. We throw it back to this time last year, even a little bit before that, all the way up until actually more than this time last year, way further back. A year and a half was probably when they really started to boom. It was nearly a year ago now things started going south for these guys. But anyway, we spoke about them a lot. We tracked their ETFs very, very closely. Some of their biggest holdings are some of my favorite stocks, Tesla obviously being one of them. Palantir has always generally been in their top 15 biggest holdings. They've sold and bought here and there, whatever. There's some others in there too. But this is what we're going to speak about today, because as I've been looking at the market, there's been big up days, there's been big down days, there's been a lot of stress, and there's been a lot of fear. There's also been a lot of excitement and anxiety continually in the markets as of late. So I think this is one of those videos that it just helps to take a look at why, for one, ARK Invest is underperforming, and why you may be, and a lot of stocks may be also. Really quickly, my friends, could I please ask you to hit that juicy like button? It helps me out an awful lot. I really would appreciate you taking the time to do that. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know, are you or have you ever been invested in any of the ARK ETFs? And I want to know your reasons for it, and if you are holding, buying, or if you've sold out. And please, my friend, if you are indeed new around here, hit that juicy red subscribe button. Helps me out an awful lot. Cathie Wood explaining her losses, okay, says the market is irrational. And I think it's relatively fair to say that, especially from her point of view, from the point of view of somebody who has the RK, who has the RQ, the kind of stocks that they invest in. She says sometimes the market can remain irrational, and I'll say what's going on right now is irrational, okay? Now, you can make points for and against this. It depends what part of the market you're looking at in particular, but I don't think the majority of people would argue that the market is irrational. Again, I bring you back to the Nasdaq point. The fact that the Nasdaq has been going up and up and up, yet 40% of the companies held within the Nasdaq are down over 50%. Things don't appear to be as bad as they are, because there is a small percentage of stocks, predominantly very large caps, the biggest companies in the world, that have been performing very well. Whereas low caps, small caps, even penny stocks and mid caps, everything else has kind of been getting hammered to the ground. And it doesn't even depend on what industry you're in too much of the time. The only things that have been doing particularly well are your dividend kings, your absolute giants, your dividend aristocrats, all those kind of things. The safer investments, and a lot of that comes down to inflation fears, etc., etc. You guys have probably heard this spew a million times by now. We've been through a very difficult time since the significant rotation from growth into value started nearly a year ago, as I said at the start of this video, in mid-February. And I want you to know that we're in there with you. And I don't even think it's necessarily growth into value, because there's a lot of value that's been beaten up as well. And there's a lot of value that potentially hasn't grown the way it should. There's a lot of value that is even better value now. Ratios are even better. The stocks inside of the fund have suffered amid valuation concerns and rising interest rates, which make their earning streams look less valuable compared with investments like treasury bonds. We all know those bonds have been very annoying to growth stock investors over the last year or so. Cathie Wood goes on to say her companies are coming back. Keep your eye on that prize. If we're right, the technologies around which we are focused our research, those technologies we believe will compound in terms of revenues and earnings for the companies involved. And that really is what growth stock investing comes down to. Now, I know growth stock investors typically don't invest in ETFs, but I think a lot of growth investors do invest in the ARK funds because they share, similar thesis as the team over there. And that brings me back over to this article right here that says disruptive tech investing has never been a one-year approach. And we don't need to go through the whole thing, but looking back at ARK's 5-year performance, here's their 1-year performance, okay? horrific compared to the QQQ and the SPY. Like, look at that. Down 32%. They're actually down more on the year right now, I do believe. But anyway, that is terrible. These numbers are as of, the 7th of January, okay? 5-year performance. They have very, very much so outperformed the QQQ and the SPY, especially if you did take profits along the way. And this is the thing when it comes to growth, is that an awful lot of the time, you will have to wait. You will have to go through good and bad periods of time for 1, maybe 2, 3, 4 years at a time. I mean, go and look back at Tesla, okay? We'll blow up Tesla stock because it's just so easy to use an example. Nothing happened for such a long time, like a really long time, okay? Especially, like, you get in day one, whatever. But let's say the people who were buying back here, years went by and nothing crazy happened. You know what I mean? Maybe you were holding Tesla for 2, 3, 4 years. You were up 100%. And some people might have sold here because they said, you know what? It's not moving the way I expected. But if they had just held, they're up thousands, literally thousands of percent. They just had to be willing to hold through the good and the bad continually. Some people would have been down massively in Tesla. Some people might have bought right here at 45 and then it had gone back down to the 30s at some stage and they missed out on all of this gain, because that is how growth works an awful lot of the time. So a lot of people are looking at growth right now and thinking that, it's a scam. I'm running to crypto, which has been absolutely hammered as of late as well. Or they're going to go just purely to dividend investing, or they're going to really transition to value. But I mean, this is a part of growth investing, and this headline right here sums it up. It's never been a one-year approach, because growth is volatile. Even look at really popular one on YouTube, one that I love as well. One, I think it's my 3rd, 4th biggest holding, Palantir. Look at that yearly chart, okay? From the peaks down 56% as well. I mean, this is considered by many still to be a very good growth stock, and it more than likely is going to be. I'm one of the people who does believe it is going to be, but it's been beaten up over the last year for many different reasons, some down to themselves and their shortcomings, some down to management and the decisions they've made, but some just down to the broader market, some down to growth as a whole being down, some down to things like, it being a bad year. It's down 50%, so is nearly half of the NASDAQ, literally, you know what I mean? I think this is just such an important point to remember at times, because a lot of people remember when growth was going really well and everybody worshipped the ground that Cathie Wood walked on, okay? And now that things aren't going good, she's getting a lot of hate, a lot of backlash. I guarantee again, the first person people will go running to when the cycle happens, when it goes out of value, when it goes out of dividends, back into growth, when the growth cycle comes back around, she will be the first person that people are praising. She will be the first person that people are looking to buy the ARK Invest ETFs again. She'll be the first person that people are asking for information, the first person that people want to hear from, because that is what she's known for. It's all well and good when things are going smooth and dandy and you have an ETF that's beating the biggest stocks in the whole world and it's considered safe because it has dozens of different companies inside them. But when it goes bad, when it takes a turn for the worst, the hate will roll in and a lot of people will lose their trust, essentially. And that's just part of it. That is part of the broader cycle in the markets. One more thing I just want to speak about quickly is here's the market move Cathie Wood says is ridiculous as her flagship fund sputters. I just found this one quite interesting myself as well. It's in regards to some of the general automotive companies and the fact they're going up because of EV. Wood says she isn't a buyer of the rally in automotive stocks since the new year, on news including Ford doubling the rate of production of the electric version of the F-150. Okay, I look at the performance of stocks like these. They soared on those electric vehicle announcements. That's ridiculous. Ford shares have jumped 18% this year. Chrysler owner has gained 9% and GM climbed 6%. Electric vehicles make up roughly 2% of their sales. What if the other 98% or so are on their way out as the consumer preference shifts towards electric, she asked. I did quite like this one. These flagship automotive companies are going up in price because of their EVs that still make up a tiny portion of their business. And again, no hate towards these ones. I just think if people could bring that knowledge over to some of the real EV players, they would be in a much better position right now. But I have to agree with Cathie Wood. Markets are irrational for the large part. I think what's going on here in this particular article showcases that. I personally don't hold any of the ARK ETFs. I more than likely would have, except it wasn't very easy to buy them in Ireland, where I'm from. I probably would have made more, though still haven't bought them back then despite this huge crash. But guys, that's just a little bit of an update. partially to show you guys some interesting things I found that Cathie has been saying over the last couple of days, but also just to remind you guys of the bigger picture, especially since I know a lot of people on this channel are growth stock investors. Look back through history. Growth stocks, more so than most stock variants, are cyclical. They go through really good phases and really bad phases, and that is the way it is. And that's the way more than likely it is going to be for the rest of time that the stock market's around. It's just the way it works. That's the risk that is associated with them. But anyway, my friends, if you watch this video all the way to the end, you are a true legend, and I really do appreciate you being here. Your support genuinely means the world to me. If I could ask you, if you haven't yet, please hit that juicy like button. It helps me out an awful lot. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about ARK, how they've handled the last, 6 months, a year, more so, if you are a holder in any of their products. And please, my friend, subscribe if you're new around here. Anyway, guys, I hope you all have a beautiful and blessed day. I will see you for another video very soon. Peace.